All right, everybody. We just wrapped up the AZ Craft Beer Awards, and we're here with Johan, we're big time in it with the representative from Phx Magazine.
Oh man.
So you kind of let it slip during the presentation that you pulled a supervillain move of like you wanted to be in the craft beer industry, and this was kind of your backhanded way to get in it. What was your motivation to jump into this industry?
Honestly, it was sort of a serendipitous thing because when I started at Phx Magazine a couple of years ago, the beer festival was already sort of like the beer festival / awards were already conceptualized. Like the meetings with Rob and Andrew were already set. I got to kind of step into that. So it was kind of a happy happenstance for me. But I mean, I've been a craft brew junkie for almost a decade, and I've always wanted to get into home brewing. I've always wanted to be involved in the industry. I used to run social media for a couple of different breweries in the Valley, with my marketing background, and so like I've always just wanted to be part of that community because I've always liked that community, and so it just happened to be this situation where like I stepped into this job. We already had the relationship with the guild. We were already sort of conceptualizing the awards, and so I got to basically take that and run with it. But for me, it was like, going to the judging meetings where we were all talking like sensory training, that kind of stuff, and then meeting with the guild, and then putting together the beer festival, and then through that meeting all the brewers and like kind of just getting to know the community. I was like, man, these are my people. Like this is 100% the kind of people I want to hang out with. It just happens to be my job. And so it's just like, a lot of times when like an outside organization puts on a beer event, they're seen as an outside organization. And for me, like it was really important to not be seen that way, to be seen as like, oh, this guy wants to be part of this community. He's not just here to like put on a beer festival and make some money. He's here because he loves this community. And like, that's 100% where my angle, like I did a collaboration with Phoenix Beer Co. And I want to do more. And like, I'm homebrewing, and I'm like, I live and breathe this group of people. It's just so much fun.
So there's one thing we need you to clarify, because we did an episode on our podcast going over the beer categories of the best of Phx Magazine.
Okay.
Which seems to be in conflict with the Arizona Craft Beer Awards as far as beer goes.
Yeah.
Is that something you're trying to clean up?
No,
are those two separate things?
Two separate things.
Okay.
The Best of the Valley beer category is all consumer voted. It's all voting based. So we put it out. We have the categories that we set. People nominate their favorites, and then it goes to a voting period where people vote for their favorites. So whereas this is, people submit, breweries submit, we have judges sit down, taste blindly, pass different beers, different rounds, etc. It's a totally different process. Which is why the Best of the Valley is called Best of the Valley Reader's Choice, whereas this is Arizona Craft Beer Awards. So it is two separate things in terms of how they're judged and how they're chosen. None of us in the staff at Phx Magazine have any input into what's chosen in the Reader's Choice Best of the Valley beer categories. That's all Reader's Choice. So whatever the people choose, that's what wins.
Good clarification.
Yeah.
Biggest surprise for you of the night?
Man.
Because I'll say there's two, and we'll get to that later. But ours, right off the bat, was the turnout, because there was probably 3 times as many people here as there was last year.
Yeah, man. I'll tell you, like, this is one of those things that last year it was brand new. People didn't know so much about it. We had significantly more entries. I think last year we had a little over 100 entries. This year we had almost 200 entries. Last year we had like I think 30 something or 40 something judges this year. I think we had 65 judges. Like it's one of those things that like builds momentum, right? I think GABF, the first year that they ever did JBF, they had like 80 something entries. So we already on our first year had more entries, beers entered into the ACBA than GABF did. So it's like one of those things that just kind of takes a little bit of time, and the breweries talk to each other, and they want the awards, and they want the accolades, they want the feedback. That's the other big thing that we're really focusing on in the judging is like the feedback that we give a brewery, whether they win or not, should be like helpful, actionable feedback. It shouldn't just be like a scribble about, fermentation. It should be like...
Yeah, you don't want to untap.
Exactly.
You want more detailed.
We want something that a brewer can take and say, oh, I can take these actions if I want to change this, or they can say, this is what I'm going for, I don't need to change it. But the point was to like give actionable feedback. And so that's why we do all these judging meetings before the judging, to kind of help people, to kind of not so much train people, but like create that culture that we want in terms of producing the kind of feedback that we want. So whether a brewery won tonight or not, they will get feedback on the beers that they submitted, and then they can do with that what they will.
Which is good, because that goes into my last couple questions.
Sure.
So we kind of, and I think a lot of eyebrows were raised when the stout porter category, and there was no bronze medal awarded.
Yeah.
Which we talked to a couple people, and they explained the point system
Yep.
and how that works. But if people want, because I assume you want more people involved in judging, and you want a bigger judging pool, if people want to get involved in that, how would they go about learning and participating in that in the future?
Totally. So the biggest thing that they can do is get in touch with the guild, because in terms of the judging and the awards part of it, the guild handles all those logistics, and they have a committee that includes Melissa from Four Peaks, and includes a bunch of guys from Arizona Society of Homebrewers, and like it includes a very diverse group of people from different organizations. It's not just like all from one brewery or all from one organization. But they are the ones that are kind of organizing all that and making sure that it's being run in a way that is, what's the word I'm looking for?
Productive.
But that it has, that it's credible, right? Like it's all blindly done. Like nobody that's judging is allowed to go back of house. They don't know what they're tasting. It's very well done. The crew that is running the awards is largely the same crew that ran Americanned Beer Fest, the beer awards for, I think it was like 8 or 9 years prior to COVID, before they kind of shut it down. So it's a very well run awards. The judging, everything is there's a lot of integrity. That's the word I was looking for. There's a lot of integrity to it. Like it's not pay to play. It's not a popularity contest. It's all blindly done. If a judge is from a brewery and they're about to taste a beer that they brewed, they're asked to step aside. So all those things are done in a way that is, we make sure that there's no favoritism or anything like that. So in a situation like that, stouts and porters category, a beer has to pass the first couple rounds in order to pass through into the awards portion, and they have to meet certain criteria within that category. And so if they don't meet those criteria, they don't pass through. And so the fact that there wasn't a bronze was simply a matter of the beers didn't make it that far.
And then finally, to speak to that legitimacy, and we kind of make fun of regional publications.
Sure.
That are just like, we felt a long time ago that Phx Magazine was like, oh, let's just do a Google search for breweries in Arizona.
Man.
When did Phx Magazine decide to dedicate time to supporting Arizona breweries and make this a legitimate investment?
So I know that it was a few years ago, I want to say maybe 2017, we published a beer issue. That was before my time. So I'm not totally sure how that was all vetted. But since I've been part of the organization, there's a group of us. The editor-in-chief is a big beer guy. Our digital director is a big beer guy, and then I am a big beer guy. And so we have sort of built these relationships with the guild and with the breweries in a way that like we're genuinely interested in promoting the community, because we love the beer. Like it's not there's no other ulterior motive there. So it's since I've been part of it, like I've made sure that all the relationships we build are beneficial to everybody and not just to whatever it is. The audience that we publish our magazine for is into beer, but that's not our biggest audience.
Right, you take level beer people.
You take an audience like your guys' audience, or like Tap That AZ, or like some of these other organizations or people in town that are like heavily invested or heavily involved in the craft beer community. They have a much heavier craft beer audience. Whereas we that's a small portion of our overall audience. So for us, like we're just doing what we're excited about. And something that I love about like our beer festival coming up on October 21st is the fact that every brewery involved in that beer festival is an Arizona brewery. There are no out-of-state breweries involved in that. There's one out-of-state cider company that is involved in that, and maybe a couple of like seltzer brands. Otherwise, brewery, all Arizona. And like that to me is like I want to maintain that, because that's what we're all about. I mean, Phx Magazine is fully invested in the local community. We're Phx Magazine. We're not Denver. They have their own magazine, so we're here to promote our community.
Look, he's a professional. So AZ Craft Brewer Awards, and this will come out relatively close. Like you mentioned, the beer festival coming up, which features a lot of these things.
Mm-hmm.
Is that more to promote Arizona beer, or what's the purpose behind the festival separate from the awards?
So the awards is where we give out the medals and the certificates, and everybody gets the accolades that they deserve. And then to me, the festival is where we get to share those things with the public. So we don't require breweries to bring the beers that they submitted to the awards, but we certainly encourage it, because that's the whole point. The point of the festival is for the public to be able to come and taste the beers that were submitted, that won, that maybe weren't submitted. The point is, come taste and experience the best in Arizona beer. And so for us, it's the celebration, it's the party where everybody gets to come and drink the best beers in Arizona.
So if people want to get tickets to the craft beer festival, where should they go? azcraftbeer.com, super easy. I was shocked when I found out that was available.
Venue, that domain was available. But yeah, azcraftbeer.com is the website for the event, and then there's a get tickets link right there that people can get tickets to.
And then obviously, if people want to look into Arizona craft beer, choose azbrews.com for the guild stuff. Exactly. Phx Magazine.
Yeah.
Plugs for Phx Magazine. Where can people find and get that?
Yeah. So phxmagazine.com, on Instagram, PHX Magazine, and we're all over the place. ACBA Fest is our Instagram for the beer festival, so you can get all the updates on the breweries that are involved there. The website also has a list of all the breweries that are involved. We're at I want to say about 35 all local breweries right now. I think after tonight we'll probably get close to 50. So it's going to be a good party. The venue is really nice. I'm going to say this is like not my number one selling point for this beer festival, but I like to say this. It's the only beer festival you'll ever go to that doesn't have porta-johns, has real restrooms. It's a really, really nice venue. It's the great lawn of the Cardinal Stadium. So it's a really beautiful venue. It's fenced in. They have this great building that the second floor is like this open patio that's our VIP space. There's going to be a bunch of food trucks, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So
Well, thanks for taking
Yeah.
time this busy day.
Yeah, you
stepping
bet.
aside and talking to us, and
For
we
sure.
appreciate it. And thanks for the invite.
Yeah, we'll see you guys on the 21st.
We will. We'll be there. Thanks.